We often believe that communication is about the words themselves. That if we choose the right vocabulary, the right grammar, the right phrasing, the impact is automatic. But this is only half of the truth. Words in their raw form are just symbols. They are letters strung together, sounds emitted from our mouths, letters typed on a screen. Yet by themselves, they are empty. What gives words power is not merely their meaning. It is the energy that flows through them, the state of being behind them, the subtle vibrations that only the heart, not the mind, can perceive. When you speak, every word you utter carries with it a frequency, a resonance of your inner world. It is not just a sentence, it is the intention, the presence, the weight behind it. A simple hello can feel cold and indifferent, or it can feel magnetic, warm, and inviting. The difference is not the word itself, it is you. Men and human beings in general respond first to energy before logic. The subconscious registers the force behind the words long before the conscious mind processes their literal meaning. This is why certain people can speak very little yet hold attention effortlessly, while others can deliver long speeches that fall flat and fail to stir emotion. Energy behind words is like a current in water. If the current is strong, the water moves everything around it. If it is weak or stagnant, words float lifelessly and dissipate. To master influence, you must learn to infuse your words with presence, clarity, and confidence. It is not enough to memorize clever phrases, to repeat popular lines, or to mimic speech patterns. Without energy, words are just noise. With energy, they become a force that can awaken desire, respect, or admiration without effort. Consider the effect of certainty. A man can hear the same instruction in two different tones, one hesitant, one calm and unwavering. The words themselves are identical, yet one inspires compliance, the other doubt. Your energy conveys your inner conviction. Men are drawn to certainty because it signals stability, power, and decisiveness, qualities they are naturally wired to respect and respond to. This is why a phrase spoken from a place of inner strength can be almost hypnotic. Another layer of this energy has an alignment. Every word you speak must be aligned with your body language, your facial expression, your tone of voice, and your inner state. If you say, "I'm fine," while your shoulders slump and your voice trembles, the energy of your words is weak, contradictory, and unconvincing. But if you say it while holding your posture, maintaining calm eyes, and speaking with steady tone, the same words carry authority and reassurance. Energy is the bridge between intention and perception. Words also carry energy because they activate emotions. Men respond to emotion more than logic. A word that evokes excitement, curiosity, or even slight tension triggers a physiological response that cannot be ignored. This is why storytelling, metaphor, and carefully chosen phrasing can have such an impact. When you speak with energy, you are essentially speaking directly to the emotional brain, bypassing resistance and rational doubt. Every syllable you utter is an invitation into your emotional world. Men sense this unconsciously, and this is why certain words feel like they stick, while others slide off unnoticed. Yet energy is not about forcefulness or volume. True energy is subtle, refined, and controlled. It is a quiet magnetism that draws attention naturally. It is the difference between a shout that demands compliance and a soft phrase that commands presence. Energy in words is about ease, presence, authenticity, and alignment with your inner power. Not about manipulation or performance. It is felt, not just heard. The danger is that many women rely solely on meaning. They believe that clever lines, flattery, or rehearsed speeches are what creates attraction or influence. But this is a trap. Men can sense the hollowness, the lack of real energy behind words. When your words are backed by genuine inner strength, confidence, and presence, they resonate far beyond their literal meaning. They have a magnetic quality, almost irresistible, because they are not just words, they are an expression of your inner state. Even silence carries energy. The pause before a word, the space between sentences, can amplify the impact of what you say. Energy is not in constant talking or in the volume of words, it is in the force and intention behind them. Mastering the energy of words means mastering yourself, your presence, your inner alignment, and understanding that influence begins long before the first word is spoken. When you learn to speak with energy, men respond instinctively. They feel it in their chest, their heart, their instinct. They may not consciously understand why a simple phrase moves them, yet the resonance is undeniable. Words become more than words, they become instruments of influence, connection, and power. Every conversation becomes a stage where your energy flows through your words, shaping perception, stirring emotion, and creating attraction effortlessly. To speak with energy, you must first know your own energy. Your words are only as powerful as the inner state they emerge from. Calm, confident, grounded, emotionally aware, these are the qualities that give words irresistible force. Without cultivating these qualities, even the most clever phrase will fall flat. The mastery of words is mastery of self, because energy cannot be faked for long. Confidence is a force. It is silent yet loud, subtle yet undeniable, invisible yet immediately perceived. It is not measured by the clothes you wear, the words you speak, or the image you project. True confidence comes from the core. It emerges from a place of inner clarity, self-acceptance, and understanding of your own value. Men sense confidence instinctively because it communicates stability, security, and power. When a woman embodies confidence, it is magnetic. They may not consciously name it, but they feel it in their chest, in their instinct, in the way the energy shifts around her. Confidence is not something that can be taught through imitation or repetition of behavior. It is cultivated from the inside out. Many women make the mistake of confusing confidence with charm, seduction, or attention-seeking behavior. Flattery, flirtation, or performing to impress is not confidence. It is insecurity disguised as charm. True confidence requires no audience. It is grounded in knowing that your worth is not determined by others' approval, that your presence alone carries weight, and that your desires, boundaries, and needs are valid. Men are drawn to this because it communicates independence, emotional stability, and self-possession. A woman who is confident radiates a sense of, I do not chase, I am not desperate, I am complete. And this energy triggers instinctive respect and attraction. Confidence manifests in countless subtle ways. It is in the way you hold your posture, your gaze, and your tone of voice. It is in the pauses you allow in conversation, the calmness in your reactions, and the self-assuredness with which you navigate life. Confidence is not loud or brash. It does not need to dominate or control. It is a quiet power that draws attention naturally. When a woman speaks from a place of inner certainty, men listen differently. They lean in, they feel drawn, they sense that she is not just another person. They feel they are in the presence of someone who embodies self-mastery. One of the most compelling aspects of confidence is that it creates their freedom from needinesses. Men can sense when a woman seeks validation, approval, or attention because it communicates dependency and insecurity. Conversely, a confident woman does not require constant reassurance. She expresses her desires clearly. She sets boundaries unapologetically, and she remains emotionally steady regardless of external circumstances. This does not make her cold, it makes her intriguing. Men are wired to respond to a woman who is self-possessed because it signals that she is a partner, not a burden, that she is emotionally rich, not chaotic, and that she has her own world that is complete without them. Confidence also amplifies every word, gesture, and action. A confident tone carries weight. A confident smile sparks curiosity. A confident silence creates longing. It transforms mundane interactions into moments of magnetic pull. Men do not merely hear your words, they feel your energy. Confidence becomes irresistible because it conveys mastery over oneself, control over one's emotional world, and a clarity of purpose that is rare. Men are instinctively drawn to women who can navigate life with poise, who know what they want, and who do not compromise their essence for the sake of approval. The source of confidence is self-mastery. Confidence is not about pretending to be unshakable or immune to fear. It is about cultivating inner strength so that fear, uncertainty, or doubt do not dictate your actions. It is about learning to regulate your emotions, understand your triggers, and act from clarity rather than impulse. Men are drawn to this because it mirrors strength, a trait they respect deeply. A confident woman does not need to control him, argue for attention, or chase love. Her presence alone creates magnetism, and her energy communicates a standard of self-worth that men naturally respond to. Confidence is also intimately tied to authenticity. There is no attraction in pretense. Men can sense when a woman is authentic, and it is often more magnetic than beauty or charm alone. Authentic confidence comes from knowing yourself, your values, your boundaries, your desires, and expressing them without apology. When words, actions, and energy align, men cannot resist because the energy communicates consistency, truth, and power. It signals that she is someone who can walk through life with grace, someone who will not crumble under pressure, someone who commands respect without demanding it. Another essential element is calm assertiveness. Confidence is not aggression, it is clarity. A confident woman expresses her needs and desires with quiet authority, knowing that she does not need to convince, manipulate, or push. Men feel compelled because her energy is rare, soft yet firm, inviting yet untouchable, approachable yet undeniably strong. There is an elegance in confidence that is irresistible because it communicates inner richness and emotional security. Confidence is also magnetic because it reflects freedoms. A woman who is confident demonstrates that she is not bound by insecurity, fear of rejection, or the need to chase. She is free in thought, free in action, free in emotion. Men are drawn to freedom instinctively. Freedom communicates self-sufficiency, independence, and mastery of one's inner world. Confidence communicates that you are a woman who walks her own path and chooses her experiences deliberately, which is a quality that men cannot help but notice, respect, and desire. Finally, confidence is cultivated daily. It is not an act or a mask, it is a practice or way of being. It emerges when a woman consistently chooses clarity over doubt, action over hesitation, self-respect over approval, and emotional mastery over chaos. It is built in quiet moments of reflection, in boundaries upheld without guilt, and in choices made from self-knowledge rather than fear. Men cannot resist confidence because it is energy that speaks louder than words. It is presence that commands attention naturally. And it is power that does not need to seek validation from the outside world. There is a quiet power in mystery. It is not loud, it does not demand attention, yet it draws people in like a magnet. Mystery is the silent invitation for curiosity, for imagination, for desire to grow. Men are instinctively drawn to what they cannot fully grasp, to what is just beyond reach. Mystery is not about hiding everything or playing games. It is about creating space for intrigue, for them to want to know more, for them to engage with your energy rather than just your words. True attraction thrives not on knowing everything, but on wanting to discover, on the subtle tension of the unknown. Many women misunderstand mystery, thinking it requires manipulation, secrecy, or aloofness. This is not true mystery, it is pretension, and it feels artificial. Real mystery emerges naturally when a woman is grounded in her own life, her own purpose, her own clarity. She does not feel the need to reveal everything at once because her value is not dependent on being understood or validated. Men sense this immediately. There is a magnetic pull in someone who is complete in themselves yet approachable, someone who is present yet leaves room for curiosity. Mystery is irresistible because it communicates depth, self-possession, and a world that is rich beyond immediate perception. Mystery amplifies attraction because it creates emotional tension. Humans are wired to seek resolution, to solve puzzles, to understand what they cannot fully know. When a woman allows a bit of mystery, she taps into this instinctive drive. She leaves pieces of herself unexplored, stories untold, emotions unspoken. Men are drawn into the space between what they know and what they want to know. This tension is not frustration, it is intrigue, fascination, and desire building naturally. Every carefully placed pause, every subtle smile, every thoughtful silence becomes an invitation to engage more deeply, to invest attention, to desire connection. A key element of mystery is as a selective disclosure. Not everything needs to be revealed immediately. Sharing too much too soon removes the tension and diminishes allure. Men are instinctively wired to respond to the challenge of discovery, to the thrill of learning what lies beneath the surface. By revealing selectively, by allowing them to uncover pieces of your mind, heart, and personality gradually, you create a magnetic pull. This does not require deception or dishonesty. It requires discernment, patience, and a deep understanding of your own boundaries. Every word, gesture, and story becomes purposeful, designed to intrigue rather than overexpose, to invite curiosity rather than force comprehension. Mystery is also amplified by non-verbal communication. A glance, a tone of voice, a fleeting smile, a subtle pause, these speak volumes without words. Men respond first to energy and cues long before they process literal meaning. When a woman carries herself with calm presence, speaks with intention, and allows space in her interactions, she communicates depth and complexity without saying anything at all. These subtle signals trigger instinctive attraction because they suggest richness, autonomy, and emotional sophistication. The unknown becomes alluring because it feels alive, dynamic, and beyond reach. Another layer of mystery is just emotional depth. Men are drawn to women who are emotionally present yet not fully transparent. Sharing vulnerability too quickly or too completely can remove intrigue and diminish magnetism. When a woman allows glimpses of her emotional world without exposing everything, she signals intelligence, emotional awareness, and self-possession. This is irresistible because it communicates that she is complex, layered, and not easily defined or captured. Men instinctively want to explore, to understand, and to connect on deeper levels precisely because not everything is immediately available. Mystery also thrives in his autonomy and independence. A woman who lives her life fully, who has passions, goals, and experiences beyond the relationship, carries an innate intrigue. She does not center her existence around attention or approval, and this freedom naturally draws men toward her. Mystery is not about creating distance artificially. It is about embodying a life that is complete in itself, where interactions are chosen, not demanded. Men sense this energy immediately. A woman who is present but not dependent communicates self-possession, and this is far more compelling than any act of pursuit or persuasion. Silence is a profound tool of mystery. Words are powerful, but absence of words can be even more magnetic. The pauses between conversation, the spaces in text messages, the moments when you allow him to wander. These are moments of power. Mystery is created in the spaces where information is not given freely, where the mind is invited to fill in gaps, where curiosity is sparked. Every silence becomes a stage for intrigue, every subtle action a clue, every interaction an invitation to engage on a deeper level. Mystery amplifies attraction because it communicates self-possession and restraint. A woman who does not reveal everything immediately communicates control over herself, her emotions, and her energy. Men instinctively respond to this because it signals that she is a partner of value, not someone to be controlled or easily won. Mystery is magnetic because it is not desperate, it is not performative, it is authentic. It emerges naturally from someone who understands her own worth, protects her emotional energy, and allows others to earn access to the depth of her being. Finally, mystery is inseparable from confidence and authenticity. A woman cannot be mysterious without being grounded in herself. Pretending to be something she is not, hiding flaws, or creating artificial intrigue feels hollow and repels attraction. True mystery flows from self-awareness, emotional mastery, and presence. It is the combination of clarity within and subtlety without. It is the art of revealing enough to spark curiosity, yet holding back enough to remain compelling. Men feel this energy instinctively, and it creates a pull that is subtle, profound, and irresistible. Words, gestures, and presence carry energy, but it is emotion that drives response. Logic is processed slowly, weighed, analyzed, and often rejected or ignored. Emotion, on the other hand, is immediate. It bypasses reasoning and goes straight to the instinct, the desire, the drive that makes a man act. This is why men often respond to women not just for what they say, but for what they make him feel. Attraction is not built on facts, schedules, or agreements. It is built on the emotional currents you create, on the feelings that ripple through his heart and mind. Many women underestimate this. They think that reasoning, persuasion, or argument will inspire action. But men are wired to act emotionally first and rationalize later. A simple gesture of warmth, a spark of intrigue, a look that conveys depth or desire. These evoke responses far stronger than a carefully worded explanation ever could. Emotion is instinctive. It is primal. It is the engine of action. To influence, to attract, or to create connection, one must understand this law of human nature. Do not move a man with logic. You move him with feeling, those he cares. Emotion is irresistible because it connects at a guy's deep subconscious level. When a man feels something through you, whether curiosity, admiration, excitement, or longing, his brain is flooded with chemicals that drive focus, attention, and engagement. Dopamine, adrenaline, and oxytocin surge in response to emotional cues. This is why a woman who can stir subtle emotional currents through presence, words, and energy holds power that is invisible yet undeniable. It is not about manipulation. It is about understanding the natural way humans respond to energy and feeling. One of the most powerful tools of emotional influence is contrast. Men are wired to notice differences more than sameness. Calm and chaos, certainty and hesitation, warmth and distance. These contrasts trigger emotional response because they create tension in the mind. A woman who can move effortlessly between energy states, who can be playful yet composed, who can be warm yet elusive, creates emotional dynamics that pull a man in. This contrast evokes curiosity, desire, and action because humans are compelled by the unresolved, by the tension that begs to be explored. Emotion also speaks louder than words. A glance, a pause, a touch, a subtle change in tone, these can convey far more than a long speech. Men respond instinctively to emotion because it communicates authenticity, presence, and depth. If a woman can make a man feel intrigue, longing, admiration, or connection, he will act, but because she told him to, but because he is naturally compelled by the emotion she evokes. Every interaction becomes an emotional signal, a pulse that awakens attention and engagement. Another key is as timing guide. Emotion triggers action most effectively when it aligns with the natural rhythm of interaction. A well-timed word, a pause, a touch, or a glance can ignite feelings at the peak moment. Men respond when the emotional energy is high, when tension or curiosity has been primed, or when desire has been subtly built. Acting too soon or too late dilutes impact. Understanding the ebb and flow of emotional energy is essential because influence is less about constant intensity and more about strategic resonance. Emotion also works because it creates memory. Humans remember how they feel far longer than what they see or hear. A man may forget the exact words you said, but he will never forget how he felt when you said them. This is why the emotional quality of communication matters more than content. A glance that sparks longing, a laugh that creates joy, a confident presence that inspires admiration, these become embedded in memory. Emotion triggers action because it leaves a residue that the mind unconsciously wants to follow, recreate, and experience again. Men are particularly responsive to emotion alignment. If your energy aligns with your words, your body, and your presence, emotion becomes irresistible. Inconsistency, hesitation, or lack of alignment creates doubt and confusion, which diminishes influence. True power emerges when words, energy, and emotion flow as one coherent signal. Men are drawn to this authenticity because it communicates stability, depth, and self-possession. Emotional resonance is irresistible because it is a reflection of someone grounded, aware, and confident in herself. Vulnerability, when expressed with strength, is a powerful emotional trigger. Men are wired to respond to glimpses of depth, honesty, and authenticity. A woman who shows subtle vulnerability, carefully controlled and framed within her confidence, creates an emotional signal that awakens desire and connection. It does not signal weakness. It signals complexity, depth, and richness. Emotion triggers action when it resonates with instinctive drives, not when it feeds insecurity or neediness. Joy, playfulness, excitement, these emotions also drive action. Men are drawn toward energy that is expansive rather than constricted, toward interaction that feels alive, engaging, and pleasurable. Emotional expression is magnetic because it mirrors the instinctive desire for experience, connection, and fulfillment. A woman who can evoke positive emotional states creates momentum, attraction, and influence without overt effort. Emotion moves energy, energy moves desire, desire moves action. Even subtle negative emotion can trigger response if managed correctly. Mild tension, challenge, or curiosity can activate instinctive drives. The key is focus, control, and purposes. Emotional impact is amplified when it is intentional rather than chaotic, when it creates intrigue instead of discomfort, when it stirs engagement rather than repulsion. Men respond to emotional energy because it awakens instinctive drives, engages attention, and creates a natural pull toward action. Ultimately, emotion is the invisible force behind attraction, influence, and connection. Men act first from feeling, then justify with thought. Words, beauty, and intellect alone are insufficient without emotional resonance. A woman who understands how to evoke feeling, stir curiosity, inspire desire, and spark admiration holds power that is immediate, compelling, and nearly impossible to resist. Emotion triggers action because it taps directly into the instincts, the drives, and the unconscious desires that define human behavior. Vulnerability is a word that many fear. It is often misunderstood as weakness, exposure, or surrender. Yet, in truth, vulnerability is one of the most powerful forces a woman can wield. Subtle vulnerability, carefully expressed, becomes an invisible thread that draws men closer, creating intimacy, trust, and magnetism. It is not about oversharing or creating neediness. It is about revealing the right amount of your inner world in a way that signals authenticity, depth, and emotional intelligence. Men are wired to respond to emotional signals. Subtle vulnerability is one of those signals that communicates humanity without diminishing value. And it increases connection because it allows him to engage with your essence, not just your appearance. The key word here is subtle. Vulnerability does not mean laying bare every insecurity, fear, or doubt that would overwhelm, repel, or create imbalance. True subtle vulnerability is nuanced. It is the small glimpses of your inner world, the delicate hints of emotion, the moments where strength and softness coexist. A fleeting glance that hints at curiosity or longing, a pause that allows emotion to show through your voice, a story shared that reveals your values without demanding sympathy. These are the forms of subtle vulnerability that create magnetic attraction. Men feel compelled to respond because they sense authenticity beneath the surface, the depth that invites connection without requiring control. Subtle vulnerability works because it activates empathy. Men are instinctively drawn to women who show emotional depth in a controlled, graceful way. It triggers a desire to protect, support, and engage, not out of obligation, but because the connection feels real. When a woman allows a hint of emotional exposure while maintaining strength, she communicates trust, openness, and relatability. Men sense that she is not pretending, not performing, not trying to manipulate them with superficial charm. This creates an emotional bridge, a space where attraction moves beyond surface level desire into a deeper, more magnetic connection. Another reason subtle vulnerability is irresistible is that it easily balances strength and softness. Confidence draws attention, but without the softness of vulnerability, it can feel unapproachable or distant. Subtle vulnerability softens the edges without compromising authority, creating an energy that is approachable yet magnetic. Men are drawn to women who are self-possessed yet human, strong yet emotionally accessible. This combination triggers instinctive admiration because it communicates that she is complete in herself but also capable of connection, a rare quality that invites investment attention. Timing is crucial. Subtle vulnerability is most effective when shared with emotional intelligence. It is not random nor is it reactive. It is expressed with awareness of the moment, the energy of interaction, and the man's response. A brief confession, a shy smile, or a moment of hesitation can create powerful emotional resonance when timed carefully. Men respond instinctively to these cues because they signal authenticity and presence, not need or insecurity. The vulnerability becomes a catalyst for connection, a spark that draws attention and encourages engagement. Subtle vulnerability also works because it invites participation without demanding it. When a woman allows glimpses of her inner thoughts or feelings, she signals that she is human, approachable, and emotionally rich. Men are drawn to this because it creates an interactive energy. They feel invited to engage, to respond, to understand without pressure or coercion. It is a dance of energy where curiosity is awakened, desire is sparked, and connection deepens naturally. This is why subtle vulnerability is so different from oversharing. It creates pull rather than push, magnetism rather than neediness. Physical presence and non-verbal cues amplify subtle vulnerability. The tilt of a head, a softening of the eyes, a gentle tone of voice, these communicate emotion more effectively than words alone. Men are wired to perceive emotional nuance subconsciously. They respond to energy and tone far before they process the literal content of speech. Subtle vulnerability expressed through presence communicates richness, depth, and authenticity. It allows connection to occur on an instinctive level, bypassing defense mechanisms and creating attraction rooted in emotion rather than performance. Subtle vulnerability also signals emotional awareness. Men respond to women who are aware of their own feelings and capable of expressing them in a measured way. It communicates that she understands herself, values her emotions, and can navigate her inner world with grace. This emotional intelligence is rare and it is magnetic. Men are instinctively drawn to women who can reflect their own energy, mirror their emotional state, and engage at a deeper level without losing composure or self-possession. Vulnerability becomes the doorway to emotional resonance, and resonance is the foundation of attraction. Another critical aspect is trust and authenticity. Subtle vulnerability communicates that you trust him enough to share a piece of yourself, yet you maintain your integrity and boundaries. This combination of openness and control is irresistible because it signals that connection with you is a privilege, not an entitlement. Men respond instinctively to energy that is both inviting and self-contained. They are drawn to the mystery of your inner world, the subtle nuances of emotion, and the authenticity of presence. Finally, Subtle vulnerability is powerful because it creates memorable moments of emotional impact. Men do not remember every word you say, but they remember the feelings you evoke. A soft laugh, a fleeting expression of curiosity, a moment of emotional honesty. These linger in memory because they touch instinctive drives and emotional resonance. Vulnerability becomes the invisible thread that ties attention, desire, and connection together. Men are drawn to it not because it is overt, not because it seeks validation, but because it communicates richness, depth, and authenticity in a way that is both subtle and compelling. Men are instinctively attuned to energy long before they process words. What you say matters, but it is the energy behind your words that speaks volumes. Consistency between the two is not optional, it is the invisible force that makes a woman magnetic, trustworthy, and compelling. When your words align perfectly with your energy, men experience a deep resonance that bypasses conscious thought and awakens instinctive attraction. Conversely, when words and energy are inconsistent, no matter how clever, charming, or seductive your words are, the impact diminishes, and even subtle dissonance can create doubt or disengagement. Consistency between words and energy is not merely about matching tones, it is about integrity, presence, and authenticity. Energy carries intention. Words without the energy to back them are empty. Energy without words can be confusing or misunderstood. When a woman expresses herself with clarity, confidence, and alignment, men perceive her as whole and self-possessed. They feel drawn in because the signal she radiates is complete, trustworthy, and magnetic. It communicates a subtle power that cannot be faked and cannot be ignored. This alignment begins with a self-awareness. A woman must know her emotional state, her energy, and her intentions before she can express them coherently. Men can sense inner turmoil, doubt, or inconsistency even when it is hidden behind a carefully crafted facade. Your energy communicates before your words are fully processed. If you feel confident but speak hesitantly, if you are playful but project tension, the disconnect diminishes your influence. The most powerful attraction occurs when your energy and words are inseparable. When what you say is a natural extension of who you are in that moment, and every word carries the weight of your presence. Confidence is amplified by this alignment. A confident woman does not need to over-explain, over-perform, or oversell herself. Her words flow naturally from her energy, and energy flows naturally from her inner clarity. Men are instinctively drawn to this because it signals stability, emotional mastery, and authenticity. When a woman's words match her energy, she communicates self-possession without needing to prove it. Her presence becomes magnetic, her conversation becomes compelling, and her influence is automatic rather than forced. Consistency between words and energy also requires emotional mastery. Men respond first to feeling, then to meaning. If your words express one thing while your energy communicates another, it creates dissonance. Hesitation in voice, tension in posture, or a lack of alignment between facial expression and speech all register unconsciously. Even subtle inconsistencies are noticed and can undermine attraction. The woman who masters her emotional state ensures that her energy supports, reinforces, and amplifies her words. She becomes magnetic not because of what she says, but because what she says resonates with the truth of who she is. Non-verbal cues amplify alignment. Tone of voice, eye contact, facial expressions, body posture, and micro-expressions are extensions of your energy. A smile that reaches the eyes, a calm and steady tone, deliberate gestures, these convey confidence, presence, and authenticity. Men process these signals instinctively, often before they understand your words. When every gesture, every glance, and every intonation matches your message, your energy amplifies your words, creating a resonance that is impossible to ignore. The alignment of energy and language is what makes simple phrases feel irresistible and ordinary interactions feel charged with attraction. Consistency between words and energy also communicates trust and integrity. Men are wired to detect authenticity. When words and energy are aligned, it signals that a woman is self-aware, reliable, and emotionally grounded. This builds subconscious trust, even in subtle interactions. This trust creates magnetic pull because men are drawn to reliability, predictability, and emotional stability, qualities that speak to their instinctive desire for connection with someone who is emotionally coherent and whole. Inconsistency, even if minor, triggers caution, doubt, or disengagement because it signals misalignment or hidden agendas. Timing, rhythm, and pacing of speech are part of this alignment. Words delivered with the wrong tempo, rushed, hesitant, or overly deliberate clash with natural energy. Men unconsciously respond to the flow of energy in conversation. When speech, tone, and energy are harmonized, interaction becomes fluid and engaging. The conversation flows naturally, creating an invisible current that guides attention, emotion, and desire. Alignment ensures that every word lands with clarity, every gesture communicates intention, and every interaction becomes an opportunity to deepen attraction and connection. Subtle vulnerability also relies on this principle. A fleeting hint of emotion, a story shared carefully, or a pause that reveals a glimpse of softness must match the energy behind it. When words convey openness but energy is rigid, it feels disingenuous. When energy shows softness but words are defensive, it confuses and diminishes attraction. Alignment ensures that vulnerability is magnetic rather than needy, powerful rather than weak, and compelling rather than confusing. Authenticity is the foundation of this consistency. Men are drawn to what is real, not performed. Energy cannot be faked for long. Subconscious instincts detect dissonance almost immediately. Words that do not match presence, tone, or emotion trigger subtle alarms of doubt. When alignment is achieved, authenticity radiates effortlessly. Men feel it instinctively, and their attraction becomes natural, not forced. Consistency communicates emotional coherence, personal power, and self-possession, all qualities that are irresistibly magnetic. Even silence and pauses gain power through alignment. A well-timed pause, a moment of stillness, or an unspoken glance carries weight only when energy matches intent. Men read these cues instinctively. Silence communicates confidence, control, and subtle influence when energy and intention are consistent. Alignment between energy and words ensures that both speech and silence are tools of attraction rather than random signals that confuse or disengage. Finally, consistency between words and energy is a practice of self-mastery. It requires awareness, discipline, and intentionality. It requires a woman to understand her emotional world, control her energy, and communicate with authenticity. When mastered, it transforms ordinary interactions into moments of magnetic attraction, subtle influence, and deep connection. Men respond instinctively because alignment signals truth, integrity, and presence, creating a pull that cannot be ignored